Oh, oh, my laptop. I didn't realize I was sitting here recording myself. But digital diary must have a mind of its own. Well, you know what that means. Well, let me turn this down real quick. Oh, caught it. See, now there's a delay from when I start the show to when I see the show. It's just like a Trinidad right here. I got myself broadcasting and then rebroadcasting. I'm looking and it's like, oh. So that's what I look like, huh? Not too shabby, I see. Anyway, welcome to Miner's Madness. This is James. Kiwi is inside. I forgot to bring her out. I could run inside and go get her, but I probably won't, and that's okay. Let's see. Title: Forrest Fenns Thrill of the Chase revisited, starting with No Place for Biddies and more. And then, as so, the Forrest Fenns Thrill of the Chase. Can you find the chest of gold using just a poem on a map? Answer: unequivocally yes. It's just a process of elimination. You can grid search the entire 4 states and eventually find it. It'll probably take you a very long time. So the next process of elimination to narrowing down where a chest would be hidden out there in the wilderness by an old man would be to sit there and find out where that person had been, at least for me. And I had noticed as I was reading and writing down, continuing this journey of revisiting the Forrest Fenn saga, adventure, journey. There was something that had, I don't think I noticed it before, but there's something that had kind of clicked in my brain. But on this train ride, if you haven't grabbed a snack, grab a drink if you like drinks, because you might get thirsty. Who doesn't want something to drink to soothe their throat? Because it gets itchy around here. Almost like there's some kind of weird stuff going on. You know what it is? I bet you it's this itchy from being in the coal cart, shoving all that coal, making that smoke. If you're a smoker of any kind, there's a smoking cart somewhere on this train ride. If you're like adventure, try to go up to the top. Mind the mind and just, enjoy the ride. Feel free to chat amongst yourselves inside the chat cart. I apologize if I read you or don't read you, or I'm not ignoring you. I'm not trying to ignore you. If you want me to respond to a question or something, please highlight my name so that I can see it. In other words, converse amongst yourselves, and I'll try to converse back and forth. Revisiting the Forrest Fenns Thrill of the Chase. I'm trying to figure out, the method in which I used. Oh, no. You better get them legs are running. And if you need me to hold out my hand to try to help you, here it is. Grab it. Too late. I'm sorry. No, I'm just kidding. There's a ladder on the very back end that actually kind of drops down and then slides along the track, and then somebody back there will winch you back in so you can catch up. See, there's always a solution to a problem if you're willing to think with imagination. So welcome aboard, Rob. I'm glad you can make it. So, trying to keep this simple-ish. And again, this whole revisiting of the Forrest Fenns Thrill of the Chase, etc., that I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to keep it simple. And when I say try to keep it simple is there's all other information besides Forrest Fenn. That's complicated enough. And so I'm trying to keep it just to Forrest Fenn. There's the digital world out there that I can go in there and look at videos in YouTube channels and stuff like that and learn about Forrest Fenn. But I'm trying to stick with learning about Forrest Fenn in the Thrill of the Chase in the book. One of the things as I noticed as I was going along and trying to keep it simple is the who, what, where, when, and why. And in this case, the where is somewhere within 4 states. right? Where did Forrest Fenn go to place a chest? Where is that location of the chest, right? That's what we're trying to figure out is that location on the chest. How you doing, Fenn? Glad you can make it. Feel free to grab a drink. There's a drink cart going around somewhere. Food cart too. Decided to add those onto the train ride because I get hungry very easily. As I distract myself very easily. See how easy that happens. I don't even know what I was talking about. Son of a gun. That's what I was. Nope, lost it. Train of thought. Caboose has just got stuck. Somebody put like a stack of quarters up on that rail car. I could tell. And all of a sudden the train just kind of like trying to find where Forrest Fenn has been. Oh, that's what I was kind of alluding to. So the last time I was on, I was going over the book, starting with the chapters, the preface, however you guys say it, preface, and trying to keep it simple. I've been trying to figure out the where in 4 states he's hid something. So in order for me to figure out the where, I have to hear that where from Forrest Fenn, so that I can use a poem that Forrest Fenn wrote in order to find a place that Forrest Fenn has been again, to place the chest, etc. But one of the things that kind of struck out was in, what is it, important literature, chapter 2 or 2-ish of important literature, page 15 is kind of important. I'm just gonna reread it for people just so I can reread it and hear myself read. Not a day passes that I don't question myself about what lies just ahead and whether or not I can make it happen like it's supposed to do or it's supposed to be. Now, near the end of my 79 year, each day tests me in a different way, and I know that before too long I'll make my last flight to where even memory itself will never have been. Sooner or later, each of us will be nothing but leftovers of history or an asterisk in a book that was never written. So now I sit here past midnight. And this is like important, this next line for me. Beside my juniper fire, reflecting back to the year when my awareness took its first few steps. And at the bottom, so like, I've sat there and I've highlighted a few things, when I was reading the book or whatever, etc., etc. But I had put time at the bottom. That was added like, I think a couple months ago or so, when I was trying to. Somebody did it like a YouTube thing or something, and it's just, I think it comes down to the point of time. Forrest Fenn is somewhere in a point of time, at an age, a point of time, school at a point of time, and I think it's matching those locations with the point of time, etc. But that last part is kind of important, I think, as I kind of skim through and get to where I was kind of going. So it's No Place for the Biddies, right? Is the next one. If you haven't read the book, I apologize that you haven't read the book. If you know the book, that's awesome because you actually understand what I'm saying. And if I'm just gonna skim through this because I myself I got the book, read the poem, read the book, highlighted a bunch of stuff, tried to figure out my path, got my path, went to my spot, looked, wasn't there, came back, got a couple more books, tried to come up with a different path, expanded my initial path to go from single point outwards more. That was my second boots on the ground, and then my third boots on the ground would have been the beginning and the end of that certain path for me. But by the time that third BOTG came around. Chess was already found in 2020, sometime around there. But no place for the biddies. So so I've highlighted things along here, and I'll just read the highlighted stuff just so I can have something to talk about as I'm talking. I mean, of course, youth should be wasted on the young. That's when kids start to be noticed as real people instead of just babies. For instance, I remember when I was about 8. So we have the age of 8, right? And then we have a neighborhood. He talks about an overheard 2 ladies talking. They were neighbors who lived down the block, and both thought they were better than me because they lived in a brick house. So we have an age of 8 in a location, a neighborhood with some brick houses. It don't give us a state, just a location. We got church going on further down, because apparently I guess this conversation happened at a church. People overheard it, so it was even worse. So this is a church, neighborhood, location, no state. Now, I guess I'll pull that point in when I get to that point. Further on down that page of 20, talks about I walk to school almost every day. So again, we have a school, we have a location, we don't have a state. But I mean, we have Leaner School, which is Temple, Texas, in 1936. So I mean, we have a state, but we don't have a state within our 4 states that we're looking for. Mother-in-law always told me to wear clean underwear, or my mother, not my mother-in-law. My mother always told me to wear clean underwear in case there was an accident. Because if, when you notice you're not during death, your body releases, well, not all the time, I guess, but an understanding is that your body releases all bodily control and function and includes all bodily fluids, solid or not. Done's escaped your body because you have no control. Your brain's just no longer. And I think that's like part of the Forrest Fenns thinking and logic in that page 15 is he's trying to, at his older age, make things work the way he's envisioned and played it out. Almost like being a fortune teller or a future teller. Aha. I mean, we all are. When we dream about things, problems and situations that we're having in this reality that we call reality, one dimension of reality. When you dream, you sit there and you can come up with different solutions without having to go through the actual physical pain and trouble of doing things. You can mentally do it, and then hopefully when you wake up, you figured out how to solve your problem. So, I mean, chapter 4, no place for biddies. All we have is an age, location, school, church, neighborhood. So, that's it for that. I mean, we don't have a state in which Forrest Fenns is talking about. So this next chapter, though, chapter 5, non-chapter 5, jump starting the learning curve. So this is, that was no place for biddies and more. This is the and more part. Is, I think I went to 7 or 8 as I was looking. So, don't forget, as you read the book, do not exclude any pictures or such. I mean, if it's got times or a place. So, there's the postage stamps that people like to go over, which is an interesting thing. I wonder if they have, well, obviously the postage, this is Monday, 16th September, so this one says Sunday, September 1943. So these are just days. Day stamps almost, is what I just seen. They're not city, etc. They're just days. Jump starting the learning curve. Now there's an important section right here. Or is it at the end or the beginning? But 2. And I kind of noticed as I was skimming this morning that the first dozen chapters of this book are the chapters are short, 4 pages long. And when I read that first preface or important literature where he's talking about Catcher in the Rye and everything's similar and he just needs to add a few things and shorten a few things or whatever. I haven't read Catcher in the Rye. At least I don't think so. I probably have and don't remember. But none of the case, I mean, obviously it must have not been good enough for me to think about because I don't remember reading it. Though I probably did. It's like one of those school things, you know. But it seems like he when he was talking about in important literature that Catcher in the Rye left out a few important things like childhood. In the thrill of the chase, I have the sense that Forrest Fenn is trying to fill in that childhood section within the first few, almost dozen chapters so far. Well, not dozen chapters, but ish. Maybe 6, 7, or 8. Who knows? But jump-starting the learning curve. So we have a date, 1943, 7th grade. And I wrote on the side of this is like a who. And I think this is kind of important because it alludes to, I think, who people are, what people have, the impression people leave in others, and what you have to leave for others. And I mean, there's materialistic stuff in this world, and then there's the metaphysical stuff in this world. Us, our souls, our beings, our thoughts, I mean, that's all metaphysical stuff. When we relay that through physical talking and actions, that now turns into a metaphysical in somebody else because now that thought and action is in their brain, reverberating, that kind of stuff. But I thought this jump-starting the learning curve, again, page 15, at the very bottom, I mean, there's 2 paragraphs in this chapter that kind of, I think, encapsulate that. In 1943, I started the 7th grade. In junior high school, where my father was the newly appointed principal, it was there that my life really began. But for the first 10 years, I figured that if it weren't for my name, I wouldn't have anything at all. Then when I became a teenager, things just got worse. The good part was that I wasn't even smart enough to know I wasn't very bright until one day my teacher asked, "Forrest Fenn, don't you know anything?" And this kind of reminds me of like my wife. She's always telling me I don't know what I'm talking about, and so I have to like read and learn what I'm talking about. I mean, it's nice to know what you're talking about when you're talking because then people will actually kind of listen if they believe you know what you're talking about. So then again, half the time I don't know what I'm talking about. And I just read from other people. And that's kind of like this whole thrill of the chase. I'm chasing Forrest Fenns' thrill of the chase. I'm trying to follow him in his shadows. Yeah, I gotta, this kind of comes in. It comes into play. A poem and a map, it'll work. It'll work. It has to. But to get localized, centralized, that's where it becomes harder, and I think the process of elimination is where that comes in. Oh, what was I doing? I was reading. I replied, "Miss Ford, I don't even suspect anything." Then for some strange reason, what I had just said seemed to take on a purpose of its own. It was a primeval thought, but maybe it made me think deeper down. No matter what I lack or lost, bad grades and all, they couldn't take away my name. And I think that's very important because one of the things that in life going through, we have we have things we do, things we say, but trust, I think, is one of the those rare and hard commodities to find nowadays. It's not to say that people aren't trustful. I don't trust anybody really. I mean, it's hard to trust people. You never know the person sitting next to you, but that trust comes with your name. You know, it goes hand in hand. If somebody trusts you with information, confidential or not, I mean that's information they trust you with. When you go to a doctor, I mean that's trust, and that's a lot of trust when you go to a doctor. You're not you don't grow up and raised to just go see a doctor just to see a doctor and throw money at him. I mean, you can go because there's something seriously wrong and you need to be healed. You're trusting that that doctor knows what they're doing and they're gonna treat you in the right way. Going on here, jump started learning curve, enter personality rehab, some other stuff. I mean, so as I kind of went through the book, read the poem, and then I went through the book again, and I highlighted stuff that I thought would be important in connecting a chest or or a location to a poem, and then from a poem to a book. And the only way I can make those connections for me was to sit there and use uh, emotional connection on my presumption, assuming, or that feeling I got from just trying to read and put myself in Forrest Fenns' place as he's telling these stories. Um, Now, this demeanor was one of deep compassion and understanding. He rested on that for a moment. Then he sat down, twisted his chair, and took my hand. Okay, son, what have we learned from all of this? Well, I didn't have a clue about what we'd learn, but so this is like for the few that are still in here, this is the important part because uh, page 15 at the bottom it says, reflecting back to the year when my awareness took its first few steps. And I think on page 26 of Jumpstarting the Learning Curve, I think that is the asterisk at the bottom of that page. He was praying thanks to Thor because he was holding my hand and smiling. My father, I mean. What we've learned is that you should always tell the truth, but you should not always tell all of the truth. Boy, oh boy, those 5 minutes were better than all the diplomas in Texas. And see, in the next few words is where I think that asterisk comes in. I had just learned about fear, hate, ethics, dread, moralities, passion, honesty, subterfuge, truth, and a bunch of all other things I can't even remember anymore. So for me, I connected that to page 15, the year that his first awarenesses took step, and that's what age? Do we have an age? Or 7th grade, age 13, 1943. And for me, I think that's important because it kind of opens the book into. I mean, he's sharing that he's learned some very important things at a young age to apply in his life down the road. And so it's interesting to see that connection. It's like, to me, reading that paragraph and reading that asterisk, to me it makes sense that I think he was relating those two together. That when he first started being aware of everything, and he describes a whole bunch of things. I mean, growing through a lot of ethics, dread, moralities, passion, honesty, subterfuge, truth, fear, hate. I mean, those are a lot of things to sit there and say that you learn within 5 minutes of time. You know what I mean? And it makes sense because if you haven't read it, I mean, read the book. The teacher, he says, Forrest Fenns says something to the teacher. The teacher grabs him, takes him down the hall to his father, who's the principal. The principal's getting all mad, and the teacher's sitting there saying, "Your son called me an old bat." Father sits there and says, "Okay, leave, close the door behind you," and he gets ready to start laying into his own son at school about something his son said. And then when he realizes that his son's tells him, "Dad, that's not the whole truth. The whole truth is my dad called you a bat or an old bat." And so the father kind of calmed back down, resettled down, and then, I mean, that's a lot of, and all of a sudden, because there's, I don't know, it makes sense why he would have, that fear, that anger. I mean, it makes sense that those two paragraphs would link up. And so from the age of 13 on, I think, is when he starts using those values. Oh, I remember the exhilarating feeling that there were probably a lot more ideas out there that were just as good as that one, the teacher teaching Spanish. So we got 1943 school, the age of 7. Again, he doesn't give us a state. He doesn't give us something to go into Colorado, New Mexico, Wyoming, or Montana. Chapter 6. In the end, I'm going to bore you some more. We got chapter 6. And we have a location. He's got a backyard. We have a year 1937. Let's see. Bessie and me. All the cats in the neighborhood knew when I was in the barn and would come running. It was so funny. All 6 of them would just sit there like wet socks, hang out on a clothesline. So, I mean, we have a location, we have a neighborhood, and a barn. Don't really have really still don't have a state, but we got some more pictures. Again, pictures. Who doesn't love pictures, right? 1932, we have a location, neighborhood. Again, if we're going off of, I guess you can kind of build a baseline that these younger ages are seem to be falling in Texas so far. So we haven't quite left the state of Texas. We're, okay, 1935, the Fenns, 1935, Bessie Me, page 31. And so that's it, Bessie Me. That's it. We'll have a few locations, right? And nothing that gives us a state. So on to the next one, chapter 7. So I mean, this is obviously going quick this way, but I mean, as soon as I hit in my war for me, then it's going to get, from then on, it's going to take a little bit more time because, I mean, the whole point of what I'm reiterating and resharing my thoughts is to show how I came into the hunt and my perspective and how I try to keep it simple. Not to say people didn't keep their stuff simple. I mean, everybody's is simple to them. But one of the biggest ways I kept it simple, the place I was looking, did Forrest Fenns search or visit, or was like within a few hundred feet of where I was planting my own feet. And I think that's one of the biggest questions that I think you would have to have a positive answer of yes versus a negative answer of no, because then that makes it harder to place what you're looking for. Anyway, back on to My Spanish Toy Factory, chapter 7. Ooh, I got some highlighted stuff in here. Let's see, brown bag to school. So we got locations, right? We got a school. Again, we must be still in Texas. 1943. Most of my class time grinding marbles, playing marbles at recess was a big deal in 1943. He was Grand Marble Champion of the 7th grade. So we got the 7th grade location, Central Junior High. After a while, I began to think bigger and started whittling yo-yos and spinning tops during class. So he's making gainful employment while that's child labor right there. My Spanish toy factory, page 33. When I walked the mile to school on cold mornings, my path took me right past the pie factory on First Street and French Street. So we got locations. I mean, we got locations. We got a mile location right there, but it's not a mile location in our 4 states, is it? Nope, it's not. Moving on. Oh, so now this is where I kind of got excited in a sense. On the thrill of the chase on, on the thrill of the chase on the poem. It's weird because I'm pointing like way over that way versus towards that way. As I've gone alone in there and with my treasures bold, I can keep my secrets weird, hint of riches new and old. And then it says, begin it where warm waters halt. So the first clue-ish, besides the first stanza-ish to describe everything, is we're looking for waters, right? So, an interesting thing on page 34. This is chapter 8, if you call it chapter 8. Me in the middle. So one of the important things about paying attention to the pictures is that they give information. And one of the information that I picked up on, woohoo! Check this out. You ready? It says June, me, and Skippy at Hebgen Lake floating on a log. And then we have at the top Fort Worth. So we have 2 locations. We have Fort Worth, which is Fort Worth, Texas. Unless there's a Fort Worth somewhere else, Fort Worth, which probably might be. Because I know there's a Las Vegas, New Mexico, and there's Las Vegas, Nevada, right? Location with that picture. If we're looking for anything that has to do with water, and he's given a water location, then I have to at least account for that, and I can at least look that water location up. Hebgen Lake. Looking through different kinds of maps and stuff, right? And that, because he says you need a good map, right? So this good map right here, it has selected rivers, lakes, and other drainage features. And I was looking through the other ones, but this one, it has, where is it? Hebgen Lake, 121C10. So in Montana, we could put down chapter 8. He talks about being at Hebgen Lake. So now we know he's made a journey from at least Texas all the way up to Hebgen Lake. Which path? Well, we don't know quite well, but maybe we'll find out. But I don't know, I got excited this morning when I was reading, and I was like, oh, I finally got a state. And that's only because of the water. Because begin it where warm waters halt. That's, for me, the first step in continuing that journey. And he's got a picture right here that says, me and Skippy, June, at Hebgen Lake, floating on logs. We got 1926, Fort Worth. And this is kind of, I thought, was important at the bottom. Well, at the bottom. Me in the middle. It says, my siblings are gone now, and so are my parents. It sure would be nice if they could all come back so I could be in the middle again. So, I mean, he's the lone survivor, but that childhood and just the growing up, those memories, he'd rather be in the middle again. Your happiest times, wouldn't you want to just be there for your happiest times? So I ended up doing one more, and so we got Temple, Texas on here. Me and June playing Billy the Kid. in Temple, Texas. That's on a Wednesday. Them time stamps. Did some reading on here. He's talking about being in a bed. So he's got a bed somewhere. Don't have a state. We got an age. 8 years old. Pioneering. Survived page 38. I pretended to be a Hopalong Cassidy. On Saturdays, I'd go out behind our house to shoot meadow larks for supper. The front sight on my gun was a little crooked, so I had to offset some when I aimed. So, again, we got a house with a bed at age 8 with no state. And that was it for... Oh, no, we had a couple more. Survived myself, page 41. We have a location. Walking down to the cemetery, which was just a block north of our house. Kid really has time to think in a graveyard. And then that was it. Gypsy Magic was the next one. That's where I stopped for today. I still have to transfer all the age and locations into the black book. Now people may think that why is he reading, skipping through, and just naming locations? Well, I mean, in any good treasure hunt, I guess, you need a beginning and an end, right? The end being the chest. The beginning, well, I think the beginning is questionable for people. I mean, people think that the beginning starts with a poem, just reading the poem, and that's your beginning, and you get there. Some people would look at the first stanza as the beginning of the whole thing. Some people would look at the second stanza, begin it where warm waters halt. When that's a good beginning. I mean, it literally says begin it where warm waters halt. So, for me though, the beginning, like Forrest Fenns kind of alluded to in literature, important literature, is his childhood and his upbringing and his train of thought that leads up to cancer, treasure hunt, writing a book to include his lifelong stories versus just coming up with some kind of short story to put a treasure hunt in and say, here, go look for this. I mean, I think it's important, like with these whiteboards, to be able to sit there and so when I say pin it to a map, pin the stories to a map, there's locations, there's specific spots that are mentioned in the book. Now, whether Forrest mentions it or not, I mean, there's locations in there. And, I mean, if he's out there doing things with his family, always wanting to be in the middle with his family, then I would hope a lot of the places that he mentions are going to work out the same way. Because he'll sit there and say he was on this creek, or there'll be a picture of a creek or something like that, or yammer. But it's pinning the stories to locations. We got Hebgen Lake. That's a spot that Forrest Fenns has been to. Now, I can get 200 feet around that entire whole lake. But if there's other places that he's mentioning throughout the book, well, I just can't wait to see what else we come up with. How many other stories are going to be pinned or written down on these whiteboards? I don't know. Will there be room? Well, we got plenty of room now because the first 7 stories haven't even been labeled as a location. There's just Texas. Are you putting the locations on the big maps on the wall? So I have 4 big maps on the right side of the whiteboards. Then I'm gonna kind of highlight paths. You can go through a pass through the mountains, but there's passes that people pass through on their paths where they're going, and I'm gonna probably highlight possible, more than likely, directions that he may have taken. At least from, if all I have is a state in the city and then another state in the city, then I'll try to do like, as the crow flies type thing, because most people would drive as the crow flies to conserve gas and fuel and all that good stuff. Oh, well, thank you very much. Did you see like the maps, the thing, and the other thing yet yesterday? Like how it? Yeah, it was all whiteboarded up, but I mean, oh, get that for you. Oh, get that cup. Get me a drink. But yeah, there's the maps over there, so I can highlight them. You know what I mean? I'll highlight the most common route that he would take down the road. You know what I mean? If he has such sayings, all depends. And the whiteboards are just to write down the stories because the stories I think are important to the lines in the poem. So if I can line up stories to the poem and then those poem locations from the stories onto a map, then hopefully I can find a location on his where he wanted to be. Ish, sort of speakish or whatnot or something like that. But that's the general idea is through when I came on into YouTube in 2019 and I started sharing the thrill of the chase and my thoughts on it and why I was searching where I was searching. And I was sharing that on YouTube and on the channels. I'd sit there and be like, why aren't people doing this or people doing that, I was putting my idea out there. Now, whether that helped somebody else or own or not, I mean, that's neither here or there. If it did, great. If it didn't, oh well. I mean, there's still information out there. And so I'm just revisiting that process and kind of redefining that process by, actually doing it. Location, age, I mean, age and time frame I think are important. The book, or at least Forrest made a statement about being at the age of 13, and it's just one of those things that you would have to take in consideration that what his mental state of mind, get it, mental state of mind, what state was he visiting in his mind, more often than not, I guess you could say. And it's a good question. It makes me wonder. But yeah. So, yeah, I just wanted to share that I got a state on a board. So I got Montana, Hebgen Lake as a location within 4 states that Forrest has visited and has shared within the thrill of the chase, up to so far the Gypsy. I haven't gotten into the Gypsy, but that's next. So, but yeah, a lot of reading coming up, a lot of not highlighting, but underlining. I had to resort to Sharpie to make my markings because for some reason it's not liking the pen and even the little Sharpie, but that's okay because it's just my book anyway. I'm just writing in it, keeping notes. Who don't like notes? But yeah, I mean, because it's interesting how people have gone about the thrill of the chase in their search and whether or not they could find themselves in the same place as Forrest. And it makes me wonder, how many people. I mean, even though there's only 4 people hanging out today on this train, out of your 4s, I mean, did your location, could you put Forrest Fenn within 200 feet, 300 feet of where you were looking from any of the stories in the thrill of the chase? Oh, yeah, I do. So I got like 2 types. I got, in case I gotta write some long stuff out, I got some of these that I can throw on there. But I mean, as far as like, unless you're talking like for the map, sticky notes for the map. But I just got the simple little, that F is upside down. That's okay. When it comes out, when it goes up there, it'll be right side up. Or will it? Now I gotta double check. But yeah, these are for sticking on the, at least on the thrill of the chase, at least on there, because if I could put an F on there because it's giving me a specific location, oh, yeah, Matter of fact, thanks for reminding me. I got a state down on the board. I got to put this sucker up on that map over there. In Montana, over by Hebgen Lake. So give me a second as I stretch my legs. Oh, hang up my whiteboard. Put that back up there. I mean, what does it sound like from over here? So, I mean, I could leave that F up there that I put up there earlier. But we'll put that one right there just for that one. Oh, we'll put chapter 8. Put 8 on that. F8. Because that's chapter 8 in Forrest Fenns Thrill the Chase will tell you Hebgen Lake in Montana. So, that's a good thing. We got a good start going on. We got one sticky note pinned. We got one sticky note pinned, put on the board. So I'm interested to see what this map's gonna look like with a bunch of little sticky notes on it. You know what I mean? Is it gonna be lit up or is it not? We will find out. Fate. I like it. I like that a lot. Oh yeah. But yeah, I was really surprised-ish, but not, because it makes sense that you only want to sit there and share certain information, not all of the information as you learned as a kid. So, yeah. Alright, what else? Anybody got anything to talk about? Anybody got anything they want to talk about? Yes, no? I'm going to clean up my eyepiece for looking at stuff. Looking at coins and whatnot. Anybody? Anybody out there at all? Yes, no? Okay, well then. Saying as how there's very few people in here, that's okay. I appreciate you guys for stopping by and hanging out. I really do. And if you find it interesting on what I'm doing and revisiting the Forrest Fenns Thrill the Chase and trying to pinpoint a specific-ish location, or at least narrow it down through a process of elimination by getting rid of everything else except for Forrest Fenns, then please join me along this train ride as I continue throughout the weeks, months, and years and see where it goes. But hopefully it won't take that long, right? Shorter than a Forrest Fenns treasure hunt. March Madness. Hell yeah, there you go. If not, somebody else might be going live. Whenever they do, let us know. We'll hop on and check out your show. Appreciate y'all for stopping by again. My eyepiece is nice and clean. I'm going to go look at something with it. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Appreciate you. And keep calm and treasure on. Because memories are way more valuable than gold. But gold can buy you a lot of good memories though, can it? Yes, it can. So hopefully we get that hooked up later on in the great, great, great future with Pioneer Gold and the Lost Padre Mine. But who knows? I think only the cosmos does. So, with that being said, again, enjoy your day. Thanks for stopping by. And we'll see you on the flip side, yeah? Adios, muchachos. What do you say for female? Is muchachos just for females? Is there one for females? I wonder what the word is for people, so I can say adios, peoples. Huh? Because I want to be all-inclusive. Don't want to exclude anybody. Even myself. Mister, you're included in the fun ride. Ah! Alright. Enough yammering on. I gotta get to the cold portion of this train and get that smoker rolling. Alright, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. We'll check you out later on. Peace be with you as I slowly hit the OK. Are you sure you want to stop streaming button? I'm not sure if I do or not. Oh, but I have to. Nature calls.